never seen a smile so big on my little Lord lady's face until I tell her I'm going fishing all weekend. Pack up all of my bait and I make plans for 7:45 and I swing around, pick up my date for the weekend. Some reason she seems to please when I'm leaving. There's something I'm missing when I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing.
Well, good evening, all. Sarah, how you doing? Sean, how you doing? Christina, absolutely. It was fantastic. We'll get to that. Sonny's in the house. Tony's here. How you doing? Steve Shaw, it's Monday, y'all. Mike Brazo, how you doing, my friend? Good to see you join us. All is well. All is doing well. I hope we're... Mike Schooler, how you doing, man? We wish all had low winds, like the video. Yeah, no kidding. I was just talking to Lawrence backstage, and we are noticing with all of our chapter and guide captains that they are saying year after year the winds are increasing. And I would have to agree, because it seems to be the trend. And the trend right now is holy heat. I want to say this to Adele, who made a post today in regards to pulling herself out of the FishOFF. Totally understand. Mike and I wrestle with this all the time in regards to the health of the fish. And, this heat right now, of course, is not good, not only for the fish, but for some of our anglers, and we stressed it last night, Mike and I. Mike will be on here very shortly to discuss some of the things with the FishOFF, but absolutely, make sure you're hydrated. Take care of yourself. The fish are important, absolutely, but you're just as important, if not more important, than the health of the fish. So make sure you're hydrated. Make sure you're in a shady area. You have a cooling area to go to, because this heat looks like it's going to be with us right up until, I would say, later part of this week. And for those folks out west, or for our participants out west, oh man, it looks like it might go well into next week. So stay safe, stay healthy, stay hydrated. We need you. We need you all. And I'll tell you why, because there's a lot of really cool things that are going to be coming up. Took the week off, as you know. We'll get into that, but I think it's important because I want to, right now, take this opportunity. Big shout-out, thank you to both Mark Beeler and Mike Consul for stepping up and understanding the importance and need to carry the torch when I can't. And as I said, I've been doing everything that we have been saying to do when it comes to travel and not travel. 16 weeks we've been laid down here in the greater Brampton area, and this was my opportunity to finally get out, and it was great to take my oldest son there, some much needed father-son time, and his buddy Liam. We had a great time, but as I said, we will discuss that. But in my absence, Mike and Mark stepped up in a huge way. So let's bring in Mike Consul as we speak. Mike, how you doing, buddy?
Good. It is week 4 of the CFN FishOFF. One last week to try to get as many species as possible.
And Mike, really, in all fairness, did you think it would have gone this fast? Holy smokes, did this fly by?
It feels like yesterday, but I know the judges will be happy when it's done, because then they can go fishing.
It's true. When we talk about the sacrifice of the FishOFF, and I made a post that we shared with the judges, because we certainly understand the sacrifice and why they do what they do, and all CFNers who contribute in a big way, whether it be Terry, Bill, Walter, Erica, Mark, Tasha, Terry, they all help out in a huge way. And, we try to give props to our legacy members. We try to give props to our judges, as well as yourself, Mike, in a big way, because you guys all have big hearts. Your intentions are absolutely genuine. And with this recent fish off, your work has been a Herculean effort, I'll tell you.
So it's more than 1,000 species. And if you look at the website, you'll see a whole bunch of unverified. So we're trying to catch up. You know, we're all volunteers. We all have full-time jobs. We all have families. And I know this long weekend, we'll probably be out with our families. So we're going to try to catch up and mark as many species as possible, which means this week's code is very important because every single species you catch from week 1 till now gives you a ballot into our week 4 draw. So for instance, pick any team. Let's say the drag pullers have 22 species. I'm just making that up off the top of my head. They would get 22 ballots into our week 4 draw. If there's another team that has 6 species, they would have 6 ballots into our week 4 draw. So every single species you've caught from the very first day till the last day, which is,
I think Mike wanted to say July 4th, which is the Sunday, or maybe it's the 5th. Maybe
5th. It's Monday, July 5th.
5th. There you go. So July 5th at midnight will be the end of the fish off. But this whole week, I'll post it now. This is the code that we are going to be using, that you will be using to submit and apply your fish.
Gotta love Shimano. Now,
boy, do you ever.
Because we love Shimano, we have a special Shimano draw. Because last draw, there was a rod given away, and they're like, you know what? Put it back into the pile. Put it back into the pot. And so we're going to have a special Shimano draw, which means in your videos, if you show a Shimano product, you will get a additional ballot into this bonus draw. So I have my video, I have my fish, I say the code, but within your video, say, I caught this with this Shimano rod, or check out my Shimano reel, or check out my Shimano apparel. It could be a pair of pliers. It could be a tape measure. Anything with the official Shimano logo and has to be a fish product, not any bike parts. You'll get a draw into our bonus Shimano draw, and we're going to give away another Symmetry rod and reel combo.
Well, you know, and the efforts that some of our CFNers are going to, Bonnie right now is hitting BC tomorrow, and I may melt. There's another comment in here about it being 52 degrees in Abbotsford, BC right now. Holy smokes. Holy smokes. That's like you talk about a tempered climate. That's BC. They don't see this kind of heat. Holy crap, man. Anyway, we talked about it at the beginning in the outset, and Mike, I have to tip my hat to Adele. She understands her limits, and you know, with this heat wave that's currently on right now, she's concerned about it, you know, doing detriment to her health. So she decided to back off and pull out for the remainder of the fish off, and I just don't want anyone to feel shame if they feel they have to do that. This is at the end of the day, in 52-degree weather, it's just too darn hot to fish, and it's probably too darn hot for the fish. So anybody that decides to put up the rods in that heat, I do nothing but tip my hat and honor your decision.
Yep, fish at night, fish in the evening, fish first thing in the morning, but high, hot sun. I don't know if you want to be out there. But that reminds me, make sure to go to the website, and you'll see our top 3 lists, because let's put the fish right back in the water if it's not in the top 3. I catch a 16-inch bass, no need to measure it, because our top 3 fish are larger than 16 inches. I'm seeing a lot of undersized fish that don't need to be measured because they're only 1-point fish. So unless you know you're going to crack the top 3, and how do you know? Go to the website, check out the list of top 3 per species, and that way, catch the fish, say the code, release it, no measurement, healthier for the fish.
Well said. Now, we've got a bunch of things that we're going to get into tomorrow, Mike, one of which, of course, is our draw for week 3 and the Shimano Symmetry combos. We've already given away 2 sets of combos for the first and second week, and 2 set, and now we're going to give away a third. So this is going to be awesome to see our CFNers running around with some of the goods.
Yep, so we'll see you all tomorrow, 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, week 3, Sucker Mouth, any fish with a sucker mouth earns you a ballot, and we are putting all those ballots together now. We'll have that ready for tomorrow. Plus, we have a pre-tournament draw that we have not spun the wheel for yet. So we could probably do that tomorrow as well.
Fantastic. Christina, that's a great question to answer tomorrow. But if you've already submitted a species, and so what Christina's saying, can I submit a species I already caught again, saying I caught this with my Shimano rod to get more ballots, Michael Consul?
So that's a good question. Your ballots only count for the new Shimano draw if it's a fish or a species that shows up on the scoreboard. So let's say you caught a 12-inch perch. If you catch a 10-inch perch, it's not going to count because it's not showing up on the scoreboard. But if you caught a 12.25-inch perch, because you're upgrading, any new species that are showing up on the scoreboard with your showing your Shimano is a ballot into our show your Shimano bonus draw.
And that question and many others will be answered tomorrow prior to doing the draw. So I invite you to join Mike and I tomorrow at 7 o'clock right here or on this channel on the CFN FishOFF page, and you'll be able to ask away, and hopefully we'll answer whatever questions that are still outstanding with our participants.
All right. Good luck, everyone. Stay hydrated, stay out of the heat, and we will see you tomorrow, 7 p.m.
Thanks, Mike. You have a good night, bud.
Good night.
Take care. As I said, honored to be working shoulder to shoulder with a guy like Mike Consul. It is quite the undertaking, the CFN FishOFF. There's no bones about it. When you're getting well over 1,000 submissions and you have a handful of dedicated jobs, it's overwhelming. So I can understand when folks are putting in the messages, how come my fish haven't counted yet? Or how come I haven't seen it? Because there's great detail that is done going through each and every submission to make sure, their face is in the video. The fish looks lively, that the measurements are accurate, that the species is accurate, making sure that the scoreboards are updated. As I said, we had a bit of a hitch in the very beginning with the scoreboard, and a lot of it had to do with the fact that there was just so many entries. It almost crashed the system, but needless to say, our crackpot of gurus and IT guys behind the scenes, they got it back and running. But Mike and I will talk more about that tomorrow. Got to speak about Horwood. I will say this: the fish are there ready for our retreaters. And if you don't know anything about Horwood Lake Lodge, let me tell you this. And Mike Brazeau has done a fantastic job with his wife Yana and their entire family leading up to this point, sort of carrying the torch of what Horwood Lake Lodge represents to CFN. We've created that grassroots hookup with the Brazeau family, and now it takes on a new chapter with Warren and Doris. And I just want to say, on behalf of myself, my oldest boy, and his buddy, thanks to Warren and Doris for an incredible week. Folks were maybe a little concerned because they're new owners. There's a little bit of uncertainty. I'm going to tell you this: there's no uncertainty with Doris and Warren, other than the fact that you're going to have a heck of a time and you're going to eat well. Doris feeds you. She feeds you properly. That's all I'm going to say. If you're dieting, it's a good idea to do it now, because you're not going to do it when you get to Horwood. Not to mention you're going to eat your weight in walleye possibly every night. The fish fries are up and ready, and we're going to be doing some great segments leading up to the day of the actual retreat in terms of promotion. So I'm going to be reaching out to all of you who are right now tentatively going and have a bed, because we want you to be a part of that promotion, and you'll understand when I reach out to you. But the one thing I do want to emphasize, and Warren wants to emphasize as well, if you didn't see it in my story, I'll play it now. Horwood Lake Lodge, for that far north of a fishery, multi-species angling at its finest.
Multi-species angling.
Thank you, Horwood.
Yeah, baby.
Absolutely. So again, can't say enough about Horwood Lake Lodge and their commitment to CFN and it looks like this is going to be a beautiful relationship going forward in the future with Horwood. Obviously, when it comes to this weekend and it being Canada Day, it was great to, as I said, spend time with my kid. And I want to challenge every CFNer. If you've got a family and they like fishing, they're not really sure if they like fishing, get them out, man. Get them out. Connecting with your kids on the water, there's nothing better, honestly. It was something that was long overdue with my older boy. We haven't been on a trip like this. And I'll tell you, it was exactly what the doctor ordered. So I encourage all CFNers, take your kids fishing, man. Take their friends fishing. Because as I said, Liam was just blown away at how big CFN is as a community and what it represents and the organization itself. So if you're a part of this wonderful community, I challenge you to pass this passion and this movement on to the youth of tomorrow, because I think you'll be surprised at how surprised they are at how cool this is, how big this is. So I challenge every CFNer to do exactly that. Outdoor flavor selfie. Now the Scotty packs they're all ready to go. We are doing the selfie promotion with Outdoor Flavors. So all you have to do, this is real simple. I don't know where there's my phone. And I think we've got 4 or 5 entries so far. Here's what you do. Click, take a selfie with your favorite spice, and you're going to enter a chance to win a Scotty pack, which I stopped in at Sudbury and made sure that I picked up a whole bunch more. So if anybody's looking for Scotty packs, which includes all 6 flavors and a few surprises, reach out to me. You could pay through PayPal or an e-transfer. $65 for all 6 flavors and a few special gifts along the way. So reach out to me on Messenger and we'll get that going. The CFN cook-off, as you know, I believe we only have 1 entry, and I think it could be you, Jeremy. So if you're watching, good on you for putting in that submission. If you figured out the website, I'm hoping that you did, or the Facebook page, I should say. But go to Cooking with CFN, do a video of your favorite spice, and I don't care who you are, whether you're a legacy member, provincial ambassador, or just one of our many community members. Post your video and let's see what you guys got cooking with Outdoor Flavors. Prizes are still they're still pouring in for the CFN FishOFF, but I just wanted to give everyone sort of a heads up that if you are a small tackle producer, like, we're getting packages all the time. And Mad Cam sent us a package. Trisha sent us a package on behalf of Craig Minch. And there's all kinds of stuff coming in here. There's still time, and we're going to be doing some fantastic promotion leading up to actually sending it out in the mail. So I invite you. It's not too late if you're looking to get involved in some fantastic promotion as a product sponsor. Just get in touch with me on Messenger, and we will make sure that we get that done. I think this is the last announcement before we bring in my big buddy, good buddy. All around good person, and boy is he beautiful, Big Jim McLaughlin. So stay tuned to that. But this announcement is really cool. TNT Thursday, this Thursday. I want you to definitely write this. Before you come on Thursday, circle this date in your calendar: July 30th and August 2nd. I love when this happens. This truly, outside of the CFN retreat, this is the stuff that gets me going. Big shout out to Matt Bowmeister from Lord of the Fins, and especially Michelle and Adam Avery from Fishing Fanatics Charters. Michelle and Adam, they will be joining me on Thursday to discuss exactly why you're circling the 30th of July and the 2nd of August. I'm going to leave it at that. But this is what our community is all about. And for those who have visited Lake Erie, courtesy of CFN, in the past, you'll understand what this is. In addition to, and this is really cool, young Caleb Rogers. He has started his own tackle company, Bonehead Bait and Tackle. And this young phenom, who catches a lot of fish, at my dad, we featured it here on CFN, courtesy of our legacy members. He's going to be joining me on Thursday. He'll be the first one to join me on Thursday to discuss all of his products that he is providing. He's got a little giveaway for us as well. So Caleb Rogers, he is the next gen of CFN, and I'm enthused to have such a young lad on that has got the kind of passion that we all share as a community. So Thursday's going to be pretty cool, and you're going to want to tune in because it's a great opportunity for our CFN community, both with Caleb and Michelle, Adam, and Matt. So stay tuned to that. Now, in the meantime, we have our good buddy Jim in the background, but we don't usually start until we play his famous videos. So actually, you know what? Let's play another one because this is pretty cool too. I like this one. All right, Big Jim's coming up. Stay tuned.
Honoring past achievements as we step into the future. Elevate, innovate, reimagine. Make the best better. That's what we do. Radically redefined, the NRX Plus is the culmination of our obsessive drive to forge the most advanced fishing tools on the planet.
Big Jim.
What's
How
up,
you doing?
Suntan Puss?
You said to me, you texted me, you said, don't be fearful if you don't see me tonight. And I said, Jim, I'm only fearful.
No, I meant early before,
Yeah, I'm only fearful if I do. How you
I've
doing,
been
my friend?
About there. Like I'm just breathing. Just got enough. The hole in the top of my head though would suck in some air, but it was almost gone. What a few days it's been for me, and the rest of the week. I just found out on Thursday I have to go to Dorset, so that's only 4.5 hours each way. So
Why you got to go to Dorset?
Oh, being a good father.
Gotcha.
So,
Gotcha.
and it's literally, I got a buddy of mine to go with me. I'm literally driving there, going to be there for 10 minutes and driving back.
Wow.
So,
well,
what it is.
It'll be a nice drive anyway.
Yeah, it's just beautiful.
All right.
These drives, I'm a little bit out of practice on these long drives right now.
You'll be fine. 4 hours will go by before you know it.
Yeah, actually, I got a really good buddy of mine coming with me for the ride.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I haven't talked to him for a long time, so I get my second shot of vaccine tomorrow. So we're down the road here, not far from the house, and there's a sign in front of the drugstore that says, "Get your vaccine here," or whatever, out in front of this little private drugstore. So Tammy says, "Here, I'll shop in the little grocery store there." She goes into the drugstore to check, so I'm in tomorrow morning.
Wow.
After telling me I would have to wait till September 2nd somehow, because I'm coming up on 70. I should have been done a long time ago.
I agreed. I was just going to say.
Yeah. So, and I'm not one to really squawk and complain about stuff like that. There's I'm sure there's a lot of people out there need the vaccine more than I do, but it's So I'm getting it done, so I'll be happy about that.
That's awesome, Jim. As I said, with this heat wave, and of course, the FishOFF is slowly, it's climbing, getting to the point where we're near the end, and it's tough because our anglers are weary. And the fish are going to be weary in this heat. Any suggestions you can give some of our anglers on how to keep these fish cool and alive?
Well, fish come out of water, they're not happy.
Yeah.
If you grab somebody by the back of the neck and hold them out of the water, what do? Well, when you take the fish out of the water, it's the same thing for the fish.
Yeah.
And I spend a lot of time in a boat with Bruce Tufts, and he'll always talk about how important it is. Like when you're in the boat with Bruce and you catch a fish and you're waiting for a picture, you better have the fish by the lip if it's a bass, over the side in the water waiting to get the camera or whatever you're going to do. Because if you're holding it, you're getting a dirty look. And so you should. I see these guys keep these fish out of the water forever. I was watching some of the MLF today because they're right down here on the St. Lawrence River right now, like literally half hour from my house. And they are just absolutely clubbing the fish. Like, these guys, they got these guys come up here. They have guys there that have never fished for smallmouth in their life. And they're catching 30 and 40, 3 to 5 pound smallmouths. It just goes to show if you want to be a good angler, you can apply what you've learned across the scope, That's why I often say that multi-species anglers were by far the most deadly. By far the most deadly because they're not just doing one thing. But yet you get these guys that are at the top of the echelon there in the States. It doesn't make a difference what you send them to fish. There's a lot of stuff that carries over.
Yeah.
And it's really, really it's a cool thing to watch these guys. All three of our Shimano Loomis guys that were in the field today all made the cut there. David Walker, Luke Clausen. I mean, there's a guy that's won the Bassmaster Classic. He's won the FLW Cup and I don't know how many millions of dollars. The young lad James Elam. He put on a show today like there was no tomorrow. He moved up. He almost got to the point where he could have not had to fish tomorrow. He would have been first, but he was second, so he has to fish again tomorrow. But and then Wednesday, I guess it's for all the marbles. Wow. $100,000. It's the thing that Van Dam won a few weeks ago. He didn't make the cut on the St. Lawrence River. Can you believe that?
Incredible.
How does Kevin Van Dam not make the cut on the St. Lawrence River? And arguably, no, not even argue. Just period. The best smallmouth fisherman ever put on the face of the earth, and he doesn't make the cut on a smallmouth fishery.
Jim, does it have anything to do? And I'm only asking hypothetically because I just came back from Horwood. And typically in June up at Horwood, the fish are usually in their distinct places. Now, they believe that it's 2 weeks ahead of time. I would argue that because based on where the fish should be at this time of year, they weren't until the end of the week. And usually it was the bait fish. The bait fish would end up in those areas first, and then the day after, the walleye would come. Now, in terms of the smallmouth, would it have anything to do with the weather? Would it have anything to do with the rain, the amount of wind that we've had, or where the bait fish are? That perhaps a guy like Kevin Van Dam would assume that the fish are there because he's been to this body of water at that.
Yeah, these guys never assume things.
Gotcha.
They never assume things. They have to go out prove it because you've seen the old thing with the word assume, right?
Amen.
Hang on for a sec. I got to show you.
Here it comes. Here it comes. Because he wasn't flocking. Yes, absolutely, Steve. And happy birthday to whoever it was that I missed. I couldn't see it in the comment, but
here's my list from Tammy. It's getting much shorter. I made her happy. I wrote it. I crossed things off in pink. So if you take the word assume.
Here it comes.
There's the word assume.
Uh-huh.
Well, you know what happens if you assume sometimes?
Yes.
There's what happens.
Amen.
It makes an ass out of you and me. And that's why these guys don't assume that like they work on facts and what's presented to them, right? But there's every year people seem to say, oh, it's different, this is different, that's different. Well, in all reality, the fish, when they spawn, can't change that much. Because if it warms up early, the fish can't just say, okay, come on, eggs, let's go, get ready. It's not like that. You know what I mean? They have a process they have to go through to spawn. And yes, it can be sped up if the water's warmer. Obviously things will move up a little bit. But most of these things are caused by water levels. The St. Lawrence River's been pretty normal this year, which, I noticed. I mean, I've got things that I've fished for 30 years that are in this, they're boulders that are in the same position and they stick out of the water. And, that doesn't lie, I mean, other stuff moves around. Like, you have people telling you that the water in the river came up 4 feet last week. Well, the water in the river didn't come up 4 feet last week, things like that, just because it rained. You know how much water it takes to bring the St. Lawrence River up 4 feet. Like it's a lot of water. But the wind, we actually have tides. That happen in the Great Lakes. People don't realize that. There's a little creek here just off the 401 that I see all the time. And if the wind blows from the south for a long time, the ducks are all up the creek. They're in it and everything else. If the wind blows from the north for 2 or 3 days, it's almost bone dry, and there's just a little speck of water where the actual creek channel goes. But yeah, there's so many factors. Yeah. I think one of the biggest things on the St. Lawrence River has been the pressure. I mean, when you advertise a fishery like this, how good it is. Yep. And I mean, it is. There are more fish in the St. Lawrence River than you could shake a stick at. I mean, it's literally, you know when they tell you that the good old days used to be?
Yeah.
Well, you're living in the good old days right now. There has never been this many smallmouths in the St. Lawrence River. Not even close. And the size of them, and it's the same everywhere, because the fish are like, they've got an extra half a degree in water temperature all year, which just makes them grow so much more because they feed a lot longer. Plus they're cold-blooded, so when they're feeding, it's all dictated by water temperature. So if their body is warmer, they have to feed because they digest their food. That's why fish are so dormant in the winter. As a basic rule of thumb. They still eat, but it's not the same. Now they're eating, like nonstop. This is what they do. They were done spawning. They took a week or two to get over it. Now they open their mouth and they swim around till the end of November. And if it goes in, it goes down the hatch. And you can watch the fish out here. It's amazing. I noticed my backyard has been really strange this year. But then out of the blue, I catch this one fish the other night, and look at the gut on it.
Yeah. Wow.
Absolute gut, and yet the rest of them have been skinny, and you can see by the yap on this thing. Like, I mean, it can eat a sunfish, no problem, and it's only like probably a 3-pound fish, that type of stuff. But 2 weeks ago, when it opened and you caught them, their bellies were like this. They actually were, like they went in. They were done, but it was like they didn't. I think they were extremely post-spawn. And Dr. Cook told me in all the studies that they do on the big Rito all the time, which is part of this chain, the largemouths were gone from the beds early. They were gone. They had exited. They did their thing. The eggs had hatched. The males were done guarding the fry. I haven't seen fry here this year yet because it's just so much slop on the surface floating around. It's the same every year, early in the year. I'm pretty sure it's the runoff from the farm field in the back here. There's a massive field here that drains through a creek here. It's only a flood drainage. There's no water at any other time of the year. It's not raining heavily or draining snow. There's no water coming in. And I really think it flushes a lot of whatever they dump on the fields in, and it just makes everything grow. It's just absolutely incredible.
Speaking of growing, Jim, up at Horwood, I was amazed to see this because I thought it was always indicative of walleye. And I don't know why I would have been as close-minded as I was, but every time we caught a smallmouth, you'd swear it was there was a frat party going on in the boat, under the boat, because every time they came up, they were just spewing all kinds of stuff, like they've overindulged. But it was all mayfly. I was absolutely amazed to see how much mayfly these smallmouth. Now, of course, you put mayfly and walleye in the same breath, everybody understands. But
it's a legit thing, yeah.
Yeah. They were just gorging on mayfly, and they were burping this stuff up every time they came up to the boat. It's incredible.
Yeah, I saw a picture a guy posted the other night. It was from Minnesota, and the guys are fishing. They're catching walleyes. They're just absolutely whaling them, and they are coated in mayflies. Absolutely coated. There was a couple of the guys wearing like the clear masks, like the COVID breathing mask things that we had for a while there that some people wore. There was people had those on in the boat, and they'd go like this, and you'd see their face through a circle. The mayflies would all fall off, and it was just incredible. But the guy holds up a fish, and literally its belly is like this. It's just like if he would have held it up like this, it would have been just drooping. They're just absolutely gorged. Yeah. It's like buffet time for them. and they'll move from that to bait fish, and then whatever in their water. And when they get targeted on that, like there's no, the way people say, oh, there's too many bait fish, I'm not going to fish it, like in that lake. Well, that's like that makes zero sense. It just doesn't compute. All it means when there's a lot of bait fish is that the fish are getting big and they're used to eating easy, and they're probably stupid. It's that type of a thing. But some of the when they get on these schools of bait in the summertime, you watch it out. Like it happens more and more in the big water. But when I used to live at the old house on Graham Lake Road on the swamp there, the place that was all the stumps where you had to back the boat around with the electric because there was so many stumps you couldn't go forward. You'd be hung up all the time.
Right.
There was days there when we actually spent 15, 20 minutes trying to get back to the shore behind the house because you couldn't find your way between the stumps to get the boat back.
I believe it.
Yeah, and then after what this was a forest with a creek through it, and they flooded it about 5 feet deep. And then in the winter they cut all the trees off at the top of the water. Everybody came and got the wood like 100 years ago. So there's all the stumps left, eh?
Steve
But
just said,
I used to watch. There was golden shiners in there, and we used to watch in the evening. You'd sit on the little dock, and all of a sudden it would go glass calm, right? The way just before dark, it just goes glass calm. The sun's gone. It's about to get dark, and all of a sudden the water would just start exploding. And the golden shiners were like this. They were huge. They were 6, 7, 8 inches. We have them in the back here too. I've caught lots of them fishing for crappies. That's how big they are.
Wow.
And yeah, but you would watch these largemouths just busting the hell out of these things. Like bait fish flying in the air, and the noise, you just sit there on the dock. Like I had people on the dock that didn't fish in that, and they couldn't believe it. Like when they witnessed something like that, and people always seem to see it from a distance. But when you see it from like 30 feet away, it's pretty incredible to watch Mother Nature doing her thing. And you can just picture these fish after 15 minutes of that. There's maybe, 10 to 15 fish in the schools sometimes. And they were big largemouths. Like I'm talking big fish. I never found a school in all the time I fished at. And I mean, if I was to whistle as loud as I could, you'd hear me at the far end of the lake. Like it's not a big lake, eh?
Yeah.
And we caught some big fish and lots of them in there, but not at once. So I don't know whether they school up just at a certain time and hit these fish, or what happens, eh? But I could just picture those big old largemouths laying on their back on the bottom with their gut up in a toothpick. Just like that. It was just one of those things. It was just, they had to be full. Sometimes it would happen right close to the dock because there was a deep spot came in from one side, and the water would have all the scales floating. You'd see all the scales floating down in the water, just bits of half of, well, not half, but just fish skidding around sideways because they've been dinged or bitten. And like to watch them just bash into them, it's amazing. And that's just like with the mayflies here. These things they just gobble them up, eh? They eat till they can't eat anymore.
And you literally see it, Jim, as they're swimming up to the boat. The clouds of just organic material that comes puffing out of their mouth. You could tell that they're literally just gorging on this stuff. And speaking of nature, we were in a back bay. I think it was the first morning, and there was a duck, and it was splashing all over the place. And like, what is going on? And we got a little bit closer, and every once in a while, when it would splash, you'd see the fin. And it was literally for a good 20 minutes being chased around this weed patch by a pike that just wouldn't leave it alone.
Oh, really? It's wonderful.
Yeah, not a big pike, mind you, but it may have been going after its feet. I don't really know, but this poor duck, he couldn't sit there and eat and get comfortable because this pike kept biting him.
Well, I had my buddies out the back the other morning when I was there, and these are not the regular swans that you see around. These are trumpeters. These things are like, if they're standing on the ground, like I'm almost looking eye to eye with them.
Oh,
they're the biggest waterfowl bird in North America.
Amen. Yeah.
And here they are right behind the house off the dock with the babies. See, there's 3 babies.
Yeah.
There's only 2 now. There was 4. So I figure there's only two things out here can eat a swan because those babies are the size of ducks now, you know. And I figure it's a big old snapping turtle.
Yeah.
Just grab it and down it goes, you know.
Yeah.
So I went for a little walk in the park the other day here, and I just went out to stretch my legs, and it's right behind the house. Like if you look in the window behind me, you see the trees. I was in those trees in the back of the big park here, and there's an osprey has a nest on a pole out there. In fact, I was listening to it here just before you came on. The babies and everybody was just squawking like ospreys do. Right? Like you sit at the desk here working, and you can't hear yourself think. But I went for a walk over there, and there's some pieces of stuff underneath the pole that aren't fish. They're sort of like, I thought they might have been pieces of rabbit or something, and then I started thinking to myself after, I wonder if they're pieces of swans.
Eesh.
The most, because when I was out here the other night, the osprey came right at dark and sat in the tree, the big dead tree that he sits in, and those two swans scurried those babies right to the shore, so they weren't out in the open. Just like they were just pushing the water the way they swim, you know, with the babies, and prodding them, pushing them to go. So I'm wondering if the fish is slacked off a little bit and they're just eating anything that they get there.
Well, I'm beginning to think that too, Jim. As I said, and it's pretty indicative. You talk about bait fish. The barrel is a hot spot on Horwood, and usually the walleye will get there not too long after the bait ball shows up. And the bait ball showed up, from what I saw anyway, Wednesday. Didn't really mark much at the barrel, and then all of a sudden Wednesday that ball of bait shows up, and then the Thursday the walleye are there picking them off.
And there's probably 20 balls of bait there too. That's the thing.
There's at least two distinct balls at that barrel.
Some of them can be pretty big, you know. People don't realize that some of these things can be like, you know, literally twice the size of this room I'm in.
Yeah.
They're monster things. So I talked to a guy the other day. He goes out bass fishing on Rice Lake when the season opened, and he's using one. Have you ever seen one of these, Scotty?
I have, Jim. I'm going to have to plead the fifth on what it is, and only because I can't spell it.
It's a Tokyo rig. So
I told you so.
Anyways, I'm talking to him, and he says to me, "You know the thing you told me to get with the sinker on the bottom, the Tokyo rig?" He says, "I tried it. I didn't catch any bass, but he says I caught like 25 walleyes." So he had the best day walleye fishing he ever had in his life. And I said, "Well, why wouldn't a walleye bite that on the bottom? What is it? It's basically a bottom bouncer. You know what I mean? That's all it is. You got a little swim bait or a twist tail or whatever you want on there." And he said, "Yeah, it's great. It doesn't get snagged. You don't lose them." Oh, he was just in his glory.
Well,
and then I saw today, watching the MLF on the St. Lawrence, I saw one of the guys casting something, and I thought, most of them are using spinning rods, and here's one of the guys from Alabama or something using a casting rod. What's he throwing? A Tokyo rig.
Wow.
And he's in the top 10. He's just, you know, using that to smoke him. So
I didn't use the Tokyo rig, but I did use drop shotting, and I've never really drop shotted for walleye before. Highly recommend it. What a great presentation. It was our buddy Tim Allard that came on in the wintertime, and he had mentioned about drop shotting for walleye, and I've been trying it ever since. And boy, Tim, that's a hot presentation for walleye.
And the first experiences I had with a drop shot were with walleyes. I think I told you that story about that, coming back and putting live bait on it, not fishing plastic. You know, I was fishing for walleyes, and we lost all the jig heads, and I just pulled out a drop shot and looked at it and said, "What the heck?"
Yeah.
Put a minnow on the hook that I was putting on the plastic and threw it over the side, and boom, 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 we caught a whole bunch, you know. So it's definitely something out there.
Steve's got a question here in regards to the MLF record. Any thoughts on the bath scope being used to set the new MLF? I'm hoping I'm saying that right. Bathy scope.
Oh yeah, it's just a thing to let you look under the water. Yeah.
Okay.
It's like guys used to do it years ago. They used to get a piece of stovepipe.
Oh, okay.
And put it in the hole ice fishing and look down, because it takes the refraction away from the water.
Right.
Like it just totally takes the refraction away from the water. Now it wasn't as good with a stovepipe the way these things are rigged now. But they're out there fishing in 3-foot waves, so the refraction on the water is wild. And now it works in calm water too. It's just that when they really use it often is when it's like that. So what it does, when you look through it, you see everything exactly the way it is. So you can put your jig right in front of them, or your drop shot, or whatever you're using. Yeah, it's pretty cool. They've been using them for a long time on clear water fisheries. It just it seemed this week that everybody had one. You can see it's amazing how all the different companies have jumped on it now. There's different colors, different names. You know, I forget what the exact name of the thing is. There's a whole bunch of different names.
Well, Jason just mentioned flogger or viewer.
Yeah,
I would say a periscope myself, but I guess that'd have to go the other way from the water.
Yeah,
up.
like I've looked through one. It's really, really cool. It's just all the refraction's gone. Like, you know, when you're looking in the water and you see a fish and you try to get your lure beside it, you may not get it. It takes a bit to get there. Well, with this, there's nothing. It's like the water was a foot deep and you're looking straight down and you go, thunk, it's there. And you watch
kind of like looking under a dock on a sunny day.
Yeah. And I mean, like, you watch these things float. So they're watching, they're holding the rod like this, and you see them fishing, and then all of a sudden you see them go like this, and they just let the thing float. Or as they stand up, they just sit it on the boat beside them because it's got handle all around it like a ring. But yeah, I have some buddies of mine call me up and say, you know, we talked about it. Oh, that's cheating using something like that. I said, you have a depth finder? They go, yeah. I said, well, that's cheating. You have an electric motor? Well, that's cheating. You have fluorocarbon line? That's cheating. Where do you draw the line, eh?
Just the fact, Jimmy.
Yeah, you have a sharp hook now?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, though?
Yeah, Jim, you say it like it. Only you can say it. Only you can say it like you say it. But it is very true. Just Fishing is a new episode up and available.
Not yet. No, that's what I said. I'm in deep. Yeah.
Okay.
When I get the list that says this at the top.
Oh, I see ads. Oh, yeah. Ooh.
Actually, some people have been a little lax. I won't say who, but it's all good. You know, the problem is bass season opens, so a week either side of that, you ain't getting anything done.
No, exactly. They're gone fishing.
Yeah, no.
Absolutely.
No.
Jim, well, listen, dude, thanks so much for carrying the torch last week. And Mark and Mike did a fantastic job understanding the need that the show must go on. And as you have been here since day one, pretty much day one, like, what is it, 4 or 5 years now you've been with us doing lives?
I don't know. I'll bill you someday.
I know, and I can't afford it. And hopefully you'll take Tokyo rigs.
The truck backing up. The truck full of Tokyo rigs. Yay! Now, all I got to do now is get you to take me to your largemouth pond.
Yeah.
And we'll be even.
Guaranteed, dude. Consider
That's
it done.
pretty simple to do. Yeah.
Consider it done. You take care, buddy. All the
cool.
best.
Everybody out there, be safe. Catch lots of fish. Throw a few back. And it's going to be a good summer here. I think we're just about free, hopefully. And just do your thing, but do it carefully. That's all I can say.
Amen, brother. Well,
sir. Okay, people, be safe out there.
All the best, my friend. Peace. Well, as I said, always a pleasure. The man is a myth and a legend, and he's a heck of a good guy, solid guy, and I'll tell you, he's done it more than any of us, and as the old expression goes, is forgotten probably more than some of us know. Happy birthday to Sarah Jinkerson. I just realized in the comments that it was Sarah, that it's her birthday, so big shout out to Sarah. And James Shembry. I know I was supposed to mention something about James Shembry about receiving an award. I think it's pretty cool that our CFN community is getting distinctive trophies and acknowledgments like that. So James Shembry, I'm not sure what the award is that you're receiving, but if you're watching, bud, congratulations, man, from all of us here at CFN. Now, before we bring on our good friend Lawrence Gunther, here's a word from our sponsor.
When it comes to Canadian food, we've got your back with flavors like lemon pepper, beer batter, campfire barbecue, lemon pepper dill, garlic butter and chives, and crispy Cajun. We've got a mix for every meal. Whether you're serving East Coast shrimp, West Coast salmon, succulent walleye, chicken wings, or veggies, we've got you covered. Coat your food in outdoor flavors. Available online or at these fine retailers.
There he is, Lawrence Gunther in the house, the official Shimano representative, pro staff, and just all-around guru when it comes to fish knowledge. It's great seeing you. I missed you last week, Lawrence, but I heard you hit it out of the park as you usually do.
Well, thanks, Scotty. And we missed you too, buddy. But, Mike and Mark did a great job. And, Big Jim entertains everyone as always. And, and Jason always comes through, Ben, and seals the deal, right? So it's good. It's good. But, I'm glad you're back.
Thanks. And it's great to know that, we all understand the importance of doing this. And, as someone falls, you pick the flag up and you carry on. But, no, it was awesome to have them do that. But, I have to say, there are times when, Jim just says it. Like, that's what needs to be said. And, not all of us would be able to get away with it like he does. But I'll tell you, I'm enamored by his ability to just say it like it is. I love it. He's
not wrong, right?
No, that's the other issue. Exactly. Very true.
Yeah.
Recently you had a podcast with the infamous Bob Hooton. And he spoke about the regional roundtable approach when it comes to the salmon restoration for our BC coast. Tell us how that podcast went and some of the findings that were presented to you during that podcast with Bob.
Here's a guy that worked for 38 years with the Department of Fisheries and Oceans as a fisheries biologist. Now, for the last 12 years, he's worked as a consultant for the Pacific Salmon Foundation. So he's got 50 years, right? 50 years in working in the fisheries. That's half a century. And he's still writing books. He's smart as ever, sharp as a tack. And I asked him, I said, tell me what happened to the salmon in the last 50 years. Like, how did we get here? And he just went back in time and he told the story. And he made, I don't want to give the whole story away. You can listen to the podcast for the details, but some of the things he referred to made me go, what? You're saying that? You're like, oh my goodness. And he really painted a picture of how our values around fish have evolved. And it really made me think about how we see fish.
It's a good point that you bring up. And of course, I think it was the 90s that we started pushing the need for catch and release. And you see that movement going forward. There's certainly, I'd like to think more of us releasing fish than keeping them. So, yes, mindset is something that can be altered. It does take time. It takes a heck of a lot of education and the patience for those who that are trying to pass that message on. But no, and this gentleman has been involved with a lot of great initiatives that have dealt with not only salmon but other species of fish. But I'm interested because, of course, when you see the epic event that is taking place with the understanding, the meetings, and just the general restoration of BC salmon, when you're employing the likes of Bob and many others that are like Bob, you understand that they're serious. This isn't something that they're going to do half-arse, as they would say. They're doing this full speed ahead.
Well, there's been a lot of money spent over the years and a lot of initiatives and a lot of programs, like the Salmon Enhancement Program for one. A lot of programs were cut, around fiscal belt tightening back in 2008, 2009, with the recession and everything. There was a lot of cuts, right? Canada went through a lot of cuts and salmon, suffered that. So, now we got money on the table again and how's that money going to be spent? And Bob really made it clear that he said, we really need to make sure we build on what we know. We take the people and the knowledge and that we know what works, just get them back at it, put the money there and it'll go. And, Brian Tuddy, I talked to him as well, another retired fisheries officer, same thing. He said, we know what we need to do. We don't need to do more studies. We don't need to do a whole lot of research. we just need some money to put in and to get it done now. It's time to implement again what we know, to get back to doing things. And for that to work properly, and Bob was saying this, you really need people on the ground who know the rivers, who know the waters, who know the fish, who know the people, who know, the weakness areas, and put them in charge. Because if you try to run this out of an office 3,000 kilometers away, it's not going to go well.
And really, that's kind of what's been happening up until now. I'm not here to judge or point fingers, but that's kind of what's been going on up until now. And Steve brings up a great point, because, at the end of the day, I agree with you. I think the folks that are in the know do know what needs to be done. We all got to get everybody on the same page. So whether that's commercial anglers, recreational anglers, and of course our native catch and all of those people out on the West Coast, that they all have a vested interest in seeing the salmon recover. I mean, let's face it, you all got skin in the game. It'd be nice to have them all sit down at a table and come up with the remedies. And I would have to say, not necessarily agree on all the remedies, because as you pointed out, they already know what needs to be done. And the $640 million is a perfect indication of that. And as I said, like Steve, I just hope they spend it wisely.
Yeah, they need to spend it wisely, and there's still some residue left, about the kinds of values that, people, held with respect to fish, and it made me think, listen to Bob talk about these stories, and I thought, wow, I said, Bob, this is, it's like passenger pigeons all over again. When we would have flocks of passenger pigeons that would block out the sun, block out the sky, literally, the flock would go by. It would be 5 miles long, right? Yeah. The whole sky would just darken from pigeons. There was no end to pigeons, and there was no end of recipes for cooking pigeons. Pigeon pie, it was not a joke. People shot pigeons and ate pigeons left, right, and center. It was considered, a food supply that was endless, just like buffalo, right? Just like when we rolled out west and the buffalo herds were enormous, and people thought, man, we can just shoot these things. They're like, it's like picking ground, dandelions. It's an endless supply, just like beavers, when we trap beavers. And unfortunately, we looked at the same thing, millions of fish swimming up a river just to go and spawn and die. They're almost half life already. If that's all they do is they just live for 5 years and then swim up the river and die. It's almost like you don't even treat them as living things. And we had to do some big attitudinal changes to understand the significance these fish have, and otherwise they were going to go the same course as the passenger pigeons, extinct. Buffalo almost extinct. Beavers were wiped out of much of Canada, right? In over 250 years of trapping, there was only beaver left in a few obscure corners of the country. So we have to see salmon as a vital component of the ecosystem, not just a way of turning fish into dollars. It's not just about commercial fishing or guiding, which is just another form of commercializing the resource. We need to see them as an integral part of the ecosystem that have to be maintained at a certain level, to support everything. And it's not an easy paradigm shift for a lot of people, because who was teaching us this, right? Who was teaching us these values? No one understood that we could wipe out fish 40, 50 years ago. No one understood that it was possible to wipe out a fish stock. We did it with cod, came as a huge surprise. Now we're doing it with salmon. We know it's another cod in the making, but we realize, holy crap, we have the power to do this now. We really have the tools and the power to do this.
And part of what's going on, and of course, if you talk to the inland or inshore fishermen out in the East Coast, they'll tell you that, of course, the seal hunt or the lack of a seal hunt has done some damage to the intercoastal waters when it comes to the cod. And in regards to, I would say, adverse effects to restoring a population of fish, whether it be cod, whether it be salmon, Mark brings up a good point. To what extent do you limit the numbers of fish, or those who eat fish, how do you go about making sure that their numbers don't get out of control? Because of course, sea lions are pretty much everywhere. The walruses are everywhere. Then you've got cormorants, you've got prey birds. Like, is there ever enough fish to feed everybody?
Well, where's the apex predators in the ocean, right? Where are all the sharks? Because the sharks used to keep the seals in check. The seals lived in fear of great white sharks. And now we're just hearing about great whites returning to Canada on the East Coast, just starting to hear about it. People think, oh my God, it's climate change. Look at these great white sharks from the south are coming up into Canada, only because the water's getting warmer because of climate. No. They loved Canada and they loved eating our seals until we killed them all because we didn't want them eating our cod. So we killed them all and we got paid to kill them as fishermen. We got paid by the head. And if there's no food, the great whites aren't going to come. Well, the seals are back and the great white sharks are coming back. And they will herd these seals into some pretty interesting places. The seals will not be hanging around in the rivers where the salmon come, because that's a pinch point where the shark can get them pretty easily, where they can pin them down there. They're not going to do that. They're not going to make themselves vulnerable like that. So the rivers will become cleared of seals again, and the salmon will have a safe passage in and out of the rivers from the ocean. And the seals will be cowering behind islands and rocks and places like that where the great whites can't get them. We need that whole ecosystem. We need the whole ecosystem restored, and that's the challenge. You hear about these hot temperatures out in BC and you think, oh my God, those salmon going up in those rivers, and all the snow in the tops of the mountains is melting fast, and that normally takes all summer to melt, and it keeps those rivers flowing cold and deep. If it all melts really fast, and then July and August there's no more snow melt coming out of the mountains, so those rivers get shallow and get warm, and that's a big problem. So,
and of course, what's even worse is the chance for forest fires to break out because there's not enough moisture to keep the land damp, and that is a big concern because BC just went through that not too long ago. So to go down that road again, I that's my biggest worry, and to fix what happens during, and a lot of good things do happen with a forest fire. There's not many, but there are good things. But what it does to the fish is immediate, and it takes a long time to fix that problem, as you are finding out and presenting to us when it comes to erosion, mudslides, and those epic rains that they have on the BC coast.
Yeah. No, it's going to take some time. We've got a lot of work to do on a lot of fronts. I think, in terms of eating fish or releasing fish, there is a mortality rate involved with releasing fish. And a lot of times those seals are just falling right behind the boats. Those tired fish that have just been played hard by an angler are put back in the water, and they're fair game to the seals, right? And the seals, the walruses, they know that. They know follow that boat because they're going to be letting fish go that are going to be very easy to catch. These fish don't have in them to run for the second time and to get away. So there's challenges for sure around catch and release fisheries, but we need to understand where the seals are. We need to understand where it's fish and what to do when there are seals around. So we just have to educate. We have to use science and common knowledge and a lot of local knowledge. That's why we need to get people around. People say, oh, no, if you catch salmon over here, there's no seals in this area because there's sharks and killer whales. That's where they hunt the seals. So you can fish salmon there. The sharks, the killer whales and the sharks chase the seals away. So that problem's solved. And so there's ways to get around this using nature, right? Just working within nature instead of battling nature because we think it's all helter-skelter and out of balance and it's working against us and we have to take it over and balance it ourselves by culling millions of seals. That's we've done that and we realize that just tips the whole system out askew.
Well, it doesn't go over well with the general public either when you get the images like you did, and I don't want to get into it, but I know there's it's a hotly contested issue on our East Coast. Yeah. I would imagine it will become an even more hotly contested issue on the West Coast, and only because the amount of effort that's going to go into trying restoring these fish, and of course the money that's being spent. So as I said, as Steve said earlier, I just hope they spend it wisely. But it is a huge undertaking, and I look forward to hearing from you in the future in regards to this. Now, your Feel the Bite segment, I think, was going to be next, but you also have some other news of another podcast coming up as well.
Yeah, we're interviewing Mark Hume. He's written a bunch of books, and he just wrote a beautiful article in the Globe and Mail on June 15th about catch and release fishing. You know, there's a lot of indigenous communities, First Nations communities, that believe you shouldn't, quote unquote, play with your food, right?
Okay.
And there some communities have written letters to the minister of DFO and saying, you know, we don't want to have catch and release fishing in our area. We think it's morally wrong. It goes against our values. And Mark Hume wrote an amazing rebuttal to this. So I'm going to get him onto the podcast and explain why he wrote this, where he got his information from, who he's trying to convince, and some of the lessons. He really did a beautiful job. He really researched it well. He went back in time 3,500 years, you know, and just talked about the noble act of connecting with nature through a fishing rod and some line and a hook. It was beautiful. There'll be a link to the article. Well, there was a link to the article in the most recent issue of the Bluefish News. You can get that at bluefishcanada.ca. So that's it's there. The June 21st edition. The July 5th edition will have the interview with Mark Hume and some others as well, including yourself and Mike, Scotty, talking about the FishOFF. So stay tuned for that.
And it's interesting, Mike and I look forward to doing it with you again, Lawrence. We had a lot of fun the last time, and I imagine this will be no different. But it was an issue that we reached out to our provincial ambassadors on the BC coast when it comes to salmon and the catch and release, and would we take into consideration that, you know, we wouldn't allow salmon at all to be entered in the FishOFF, and we had some great discussion. And as it turned out, you know, we rely on our folks in the backyards of the areas that we are not to be the stronger voice when it comes to making a decision. And we all agreed that going forward, that there were certain areas that we would not allow salmon to be caught, and that the anglers out in BC would have to follow the rules when it came to that. And they've done a fantastic job. So kudos to all of our BC participants who have followed the rules and done it for the sake of the fish. But yeah, no, you're 100% right. It's an interesting concept that Mark has brought up and has said in the comments. It is playing with your food. Interesting. Cliff is here. UBC is doing a 5-year detailed study on catch and release. They're in their second year of the 5-year study. So it'll be interesting to see what they come out with. But you know, salmon is one of those fish that I do believe do not suffer from the trauma of being caught that deep. Obviously, if it is too deep, you'll have the pressure issue. But for the most part, salmon are pretty hardy, and they can be released. And I'm glad to see that somebody's spending some money to do a detailed study on that. So that's pretty cool.
And there's descending devices. You know, a lot of people are using these descending devices right on the cannonball cables. So when they drop the cannonball back down, it pulls the fish back down with it, right? Very fast, very good way to get fish back down to depth, away from their predators, away from the seals, and back into the cold water where they want to be. So there's ways around this. There's technology solutions. You know, we always say technology is the scourge. Technology is what it's going to, you know, it's how we use it and how we apply it. That's the challenge. We just have to understand it, you know.
It's true, and I do believe, you know, when you see some of the live wells that are being used for the muskie, I think the live wells are going to take a next step when it comes to fish recovery. And you know, people had a hard time understanding why anybody would put a live well in a boat, you know, back in the 80s, and now we can't imagine a fishing boat without one. But perhaps we take it as more an infirmary for the fish as opposed to a live well where it's being pumped with oxygen to a certain degree. Perhaps there's a cooling cord that will allow you to actually drop the temperature of the water inside the live well. And I'm sure there's live wells and folks that have jerry-rigged or done their own DIY segment in regards to putting some of these together. But I think we need to explore the live well more as a means of bringing these fish back, because, just dumping them overboard, even though you revive them, you might not be reviving them in the right temperature water.
Yeah. I have an oxygenator installed in my live well, and I think that really helps as well, is to keep the fish perky and bring them back around quickly, help with that recovery. Hey, if I do something, I'm working out, a little bit of oxygen, I'm always up for that if I could get my hands on it, right? A bit of oxygen can do wonders. Not too much, you got to be careful, but a little bit can do wonders for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And interesting, Cliff has just mentioned in the first year, it showed that hook size had a big factor in whether the fish survived. And I know they talked about that on the BC Fishing Network podcast that they do each Wednesday. That fish hook, the size of a hook did have a determining factor on how much the fish bled out, where it was caught, how deep it would go, this, that, and everything else. So that was a great topic that they discussed, as our UBC undergraduates are doing their best to do a detailed analysis on how we should better ourselves when it comes to catch and release, which will in turn keep the fish alive. Now, your feel the bite segment.
Well, it's about feeling the bite of the muskie, and I've been talking with some guide friends of mine, and muskie guide season's in full swing, and you're bringing people out who don't necessarily know how to catch muskie, and you maybe get one kick at the can, right, in a day, maybe two or maybe three if you're really lucky, but you've got to make them count. And muskies, you know how they are. They come, they follow, they surface. It's a visual presentation. When they make their presence known, you see them way before you actually hook up with them. Right. Now, the trick is not to react to what you see. You've got to react to what you feel. If you react to the swirl, or you react when that fish is coming up and grabs your lure, and then you yank it straight back and you pull it straight out of their mouth, or they're just swirling on it and they haven't even, attacked it yet. They're just playing with it. You're not going to catch anything. And people do it. People react to the visual of the fish, and they think somehow they're going to snag it or hook it somehow before the fish gets away. They try to turn their lure into some sort of, attack system, when it really is prey. That fish really has to gulp your lure. It's like fishing frogs, right? For bass, you can pull your hook, you can pull your frog when you see that big gablonk and that big fish, that big splash, and you think, oh my God, it's taking my frog, and you pull on that line, you got nothing. You got nothing. You got to wait. You got to count 5. You got to follow it back down. That fish has to come up, take your frog, turn around, go back down, and then you set the hook. When you feel that line tighten up, then you set the hook. Same with muskie. You got to feel that line tighten up, and then you set the hook. Do not react to what you see. React to what you feel.
And I would say, tongue in cheek, as they would say, you might have a better advantage than most of us when it comes to that.
I love fishing frogs. It's an audio experience, right? That big go boosh, go boosh. What I do is when I'm fishing frogs, I keep my rod straight up. And then when that fish bites, I reel down to it. And I figure by the time I drop my rod horizontal to the water and I reeled in that slack, now my rod tip is pointed straight at where I heard the sound, and I'm tightening up with my reel on that fish. As soon as I feel that tightening up, then I pull back, set the hook, lever that fish back out of the weeds and up and over the lily pads or whatever I need to do to get that fish free and clear of all that cover. It's a process, but that's the way I do it. It just prevents me from, if I'm reeling that frog back and I got my rod pointed towards the frog and it takes it, I don't have that ability to give the line so it can take the frog down with it, right? I have to have that. That's why I keep the rod tip nice and high so I can lower the line, give it some slack, give it a chance to turn its head around, get that frog into its mouth, and then tighten up and set the hook.
Well, you know what? Listen, dude, when you present it like that, it almost makes me forget that you have a disability, and vision being that disability, because the way you just described that is pretty much how it would be for someone who does have sight. So very cool of you to do it like you did. Upcoming, obviously, you have that podcast with Mark Hume.
Yep.
What else have you got planned for the summer?
Oh, I got my new boat sitting in the driveway. It came a week and a half ago, and so we just broke the Mercury in now, and it's all set to go. And my two youngest kids now qualified with their operator certificates. I figure they're old enough that they should learn to drive the big boat. They've been driving my electric tiller around for years, and time to drive the big boat a little bit. So I'm very happy to get it. It's a foot smaller than what I was getting and before, but you know what? I think it's a good fit, and it's just an all-around nice boat. It's a Ranger 1880 angler multi-species.
Jeez, can't go wrong with one of those.
Yeah, it's pretty. It feels nice. Got lots of nice curves, man. I love the way those fiberglass boats feel.
We are still talking about boats, right, Lawrence? That's awesome, dude. And you know what? 100%. You know, a lot of folks take a look at my Crestliner, and they said, Scotty, would you have considered getting a bigger boat? And you know what? Maybe when I first got it, yeah, the 18.5 might have been a better selection, but now that I'm getting older and things are a little bit harder to maneuver, you know what? Sometimes downsize. I mean, it's not always having the biggest vessel on the water, depending, of course, you know, the application that you're going to be using it in. But you know, if you're just a back lake kind of boater or an angler, you know, sometimes you don't need the bigger boat. Maybe downsize so it's a little bit easier to maneuver. But that's just my suggestion.
Scotty, who you fooling? Who you feel? We need two boats.
Well, listen. Yeah, careful. She might be listening. Shh. My dear wife might be listening, and she has issues with the one that I currently have now, simply because of how much room it takes on the driveway.
Oh, there's that. That's the curtain. Where do you put them? Like you need. There's no doubt you need a bigger boat for bigger water, and you need a smaller boat for small. You know that. Other shoulder seasons when you don't want to take the big boat out because there's salt on the road, or you just want to get back into that little backcountry lake where there's no real proper ramp or anything. You might have to drag the boat a little bit, or drop it. So yeah, you need that 14-foot, 16-foot tiller, and you need that bigger boat where you can take the bigger groups out, and a canoe, and maybe a kayak, right? A kayak's nice to have too.
Yes. Amen. And yes, you have got some great videos in regards to your kayak expo. Yes, a flotilla of boats. Great advice yet again from Lawrence. But before we let you go, Lawrence, it is asked again, and it's been asked many times before this. The fish over your right shoulder on the wall. Everybody,
that's steel fish?
Yeah.
It's a welded fish. It's all metal plates. It's pretty cool, eh? I love it. Everything in my room here, I can feel. Even that poster behind me on the wall from my documentary. My wife had that made. That was the poster they put up at the festivals. But it's a layered on paint on aluminum plate, and I can feel all of it. The letters, everything.
So I would say best guess, and I think this is what you and I came up with last time. Just by looking at it myself, it would probably, the closest fish it would resemble would be a sturgeon.
It could be. I got that in California, so that could be some sort of crazy Pacific
fish or something. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, Lawrence, as always, buddy, thanks so much for joining us as you do each and every Monday, and give us the goods and get us educated. We really appreciate it, my friend.
It's my honor. It's my honor to be on the show, buddy. Thank you so much for having me.
You take care, bud. Enjoy your week.
Thanks, Scotty.
Always a pleasure. And I tell you, it's a luxury for us to be surrounded by such greatness with Jim, Lawrence, and of course Jay, who's upcoming and has hopefully found some Wi-Fi. Yes, Sean, you're 100% right. Superpowers is just, her super ears and her hearing abilities is just one of the many superpowers she has. And I hope she heard that. Anyway, before we bring in Jay, I think it's important that we say a few words from his sponsor.
The fear of failure is failure itself. The world of science rewards the ones who are willing to try and fail. Because without the courage to embrace failure, ideas remain ideas. But with that courage to fail and to learn, ideas can change the world.
Want to know the difference between power bait and other soft plastics? Ask the fish. Berkeley scientists have thousands of flavors tested on thousands of fish. Natural, man-made. Every bait that's ever hit the water. No matter the shape, size, or color, power bait is the only one that is scientifically proven. Fish bite and will not let go.
I decided to do two, Jay, because you know what? I wanted to honor the efforts that you're going through right now. I see the rods in the background. I see the perspiration, what your family's been doing during the fish off. Mike and I talked about it last night. It's awesome to see that level of participation from all of our members, but you as well. And then you spend a Monday night with us finding Wi-Fi at the last minute. Dude, hats off to you, man.
Well, we'll see how it holds up, Scotty. I'm looking at a big thunderstorm rolling in. I got some static on my phone, so I'm seeing a few bolts of lightning coming down. So might be a good time to do a call anyways. So we're all good, man.
Right on. So whereabouts are you? I mean, if you're able to tell us, I don't in great detail because I know how you anglers are, but whereabouts are you?
You know what? I'm actually I'm down working in Point Pelee Park today. I was there today, there tomorrow. So I'm actually in LaSalle. Just outside Windsor.
Nice.
So I was gonna come down here and just, I don't know, I didn't have really any species in mind. I just thought I'd come down to wet a line. That's all.
Well, listen, and of course, right now we're at that tipping point when it comes to encouraging CFNers to get together. But I do know that we have quite a few teams down in that area, Bouncy Bottoms being one, Sean McLaughlin and the Fanatics number 2. There's a bunch of others, but as I said, if you're down, and Jay's hard to miss. If you see him, stop by and say hello.
Especially with my flow, man. It's really coming on strong.
Yes, absolutely. The flow is killer, dude. You rock it. You rock it well too. I must say.
It is something, dude. I'm not used to this heat with this flow. I'm gonna tell you right now. Today I was. We had our boat's not working well for work. I think honestly, dude, I think there's like spiders living up in the engine. Like we're having some issues today. I'm covered in worm bits and I'm covered in grease and oil. And I think we're going to have to go old school tomorrow for work. We're going to be paddling canoes into the marsh to get our job done. I'm coming back here in August for a big project. And we're just down here scouting some spots to get in. We got to come down, meet with the park, get the permits in place and things like that. So it's more of a scouting trip. And we got a couple students this summer that are back working with us, which is great. So they need a little bit of orientation, getting them used to trailering again and things like that. So it's a little bit of an orientation week. It's my first week back in the field. I call field work this year. So there's a lot of moving parts, but I did say to my staff, I said, don't expect me to hang out after work. I got to go try and catch some fish. Trevor's got me working. He's texting me constantly. He's like, Dad, what do you got? What do you got? What do you got? So
now, have you also set aside a box that has a certain amount of water in it so that if any of the fines in some of the nets that you draw, you'll be able to set that inside and say, "Ooh, I haven't caught one of those."
Yeah. That's the story of my life, man. It's really cool. Like I was going to say to some of the listeners, like for me as a biologist, I work with a lot of different species, but I chose to do that. Like a lot of fish biologists aren't as nerdy as I am when it comes to fish diversity, and there's other anglers out there like Ken and others who are, kind of these sort of fish nerd kindred spirits that we long before I got involved with the CFN, Kenneth and I have been sharing information just as a personal interest. Even though I do it for work, I've always been interested in fish diversity. So it's been kind of cool for me and the FishOFF is to be able to like target species that I've been able to catch for work in nets. Now, just to keep everyone on the up and up, there's no fishing allowed in Point Pelee Park, so I'm not allowed to target those fish. Mind you, I did see a white perch floating around work this morning that looked pretty lively, and it was a bit of a joke with my staff. They're like, "Do you have a white perch yet?" I said, "No," and it was floating right by the break wall. I'm like, and they're trying to be nice. I'm like, "No, thanks for the encouragement, but I don't want to go netting a half-dead white perch out of Lake Ontario. I don't need the point that bad."
Jay, listen, it's hilarious that you say that because I don't think anybody would suggest that you would be anything other than honorable. And anything that was floating around, I'm sure you'd probably take it home to eat before you would enter it as a FishOFF entry. But, I have to say, having the weekend, or I should say the week up at Horwood with my oldest boy, I can only imagine the memories that you're sharing with Trevor and Steph out doing this. I think it's awesome, and I encourage everyone, as I did at the top, to get out there with your families and enjoy a great weekend that it's supposed to be. Hopefully it's not going to be too hot like it is right now. And Jay, I tip my hat to you because you're suffering through it. It is hotter than Hobbs of Haiti right now.
Yeah. Well, like the way I'll give you a little update. The weekend kind of summarizes how this has been going. So bass opener for us was a rainy affair. We got up at 5. Trevor actually got me up. Like I told Trevor, I said, "Look, dude, Dad's getting a second COVID shot on Friday. I may not be the best condition to go fishing, so I need you to wake me up." And it was a bit of a test. Sure enough, dude, 5 o'clock, he was at my door and he's like, "Dad, are you awake?" I'm like, "Yeah, I was already awake." And, so we got up, but we waited until 7 because it was torrential rain. We got just over 4 inches of rain in Delhi. And, I don't mind fishing in the rain, but I don't like leaving the house when it's like that. Now, mind you, we got out there around 8 o'clock, started fishing, and some more rain came in. But, dude, I'm in the boat. I got my suit on. Trevor's in his kayak. He's got his kit on. We went fishing with our buddy Owen. And I just had a great day with those two kids, man. Like, I don't even want to call them kids anymore. Owen's 14, Trevor's 13. And watching those two anglers catch bass standing in a kayak, like there's no way I'm going to stand in a kayak, but watching those two kids flip jigs into wood cover. And, I'll admit I had a good start. I got a nice fish just shy of 19 inches, which I entered in the FishOFF. And I got a couple short fish. They were nice fish, like 17 inches, 17 and a half, all on a jig. I don't even know why I bring 5 other rods because I just love flipping a jig so much. It felt so good, Scotty, that I wasn't getting worm dirt on my fingers like the FishOFF. Like I think that Dave Ward, who owns the variety store in Delhi, he told me, "Jay, these are Dave Ward premium elite worms." Like every time I go in to get worms from Dave, it's always a joke. But it was nice to go bass fishing. And then after I caught all my fish, it was nice to sit back and dude, you have kids that have played sports and you've done some coaching yourself, to sit there and coach these two anglers and say, "You know what, guys, like you did that drift and that wind kind of fast. Why don't you guys go back through that shoreline again?" And they went back through and they did what I asked them to do. And I just sat back in my little tin boat, and I'm like chaperone, right? I'm the chaperone. And I'm watching those two anglers work, and it was great just to watch them work. And then to top it off, Scotty, here's Trevor for you. He's always thinking. Sure, he loves to catch big bass, but he brings one of his little rods with a little I've got him on this new bait. I'm going to give everyone a tip. So, the old beetle spin?
Yep.
Okay. So you put a beetle spin on on the other end, you got that little Colorado blade, and on the other end, you put a little jig head in the swim bait. And other than worms, we have caught so many fish on that beetle spin and a swim bait, like white bass, the big rock bass came on that, like just phenomenal success on that beetle spin. And Trevor doesn't realize what an old school lure that is.
Totally.
But, you could use just the swim bait. So what he did was he had that beetle spin rigged up. Him and Owen were fishing a cove, and they're dialed right into this fish off. Like, Owen's right into it. And I wish it wasn't a COVID thing where Owen could just travel with us all the time. Like, because I would just take those two boys and we would travel together. Owen saw a crappie on the surface behind his kayak, yelled for Trevor. Trevor reached behind him, grabbed his little beetle spinner rod, put his jig down, pitched it over, and caught a 9-inch crappie while I was loading the boat up, like right by the ramp. So it was just a cool day. I think we got 3 points from that day, which I'm happy with. We're sitting in 7th place. I couldn't be happier. Like, we wanted to do a top 10 finish. It's getting pretty tight, in that, I don't know, 4th to 7th, like right in there, pretty tight. So if we can get a couple more points over the next few days, that'll be great. That's what I'm shooting for down here. There's a few species down here like yellow bullhead and other things that aren't as common other places. So I'm just going around, dude. I'm fishing culverts. I'm dunking worms. Nothing fancy, man. Just trying to catch some 8-inch fish that I haven't seen yet.
It's, and it's awesome. I can't emphasize it enough. The number of submissions that not only your team has done, but all the participants have done well exceeds anything we've seen in previous years. So kudos to the efforts of our participants, but namely those like yourself who are taking kids out and passing on the passion, whether it's your own or someone else's. I think that is the coolest part of the fish off, is that we encourage that. That's what we encourage, and their points go towards your points. But you talked about the beetle spin. Was it 3-4 years ago? Moose and I were at the Canada US Walleye Tournament, and the beetle spin was the go-to bait. And you're 100% right. It has its moments. It has its places, and the folks who won that did so with an old school bait.
You know what? So with Pure Fishing, Johnson Baits is one of the companies that I work with. They're a lesser known company, but if you're looking for some quality, like crappie style baits, their tubes, their little swim baits, they're all pretty cheap. They work really well. But Johnson is the one who makes the beetle spin. And those little arms, I have a little panfish box that comes with us everywhere we go, because dude, I love catching big panfish as much as I love catching big largemouth and big smallmouth. So yeah, it's been fun kind of teaching but to the kids, they think it's great. So then what happened was I'll tell you a little family stuff going on. Heather got her shot on Friday too. She wasn't feeling well Saturday. I'm getting text messages from Stephanie. She's like, Dad, I need to have supper. Mom's not feeling good. Can you come home? I said, yeah. So we got home around 4:30. And then she's like, we went out for supper, got some takeout. And then she's like, I want to go fishing in the morning. And dude, I'm dying. I had my second shot. I'm not feeling as bad as the first one, but I'm tired. Like, I need to sleep. And Stephanie's like, I'm setting my alarm for 6 o'clock, Dad. I'm like, all right, let's go. Let's go. So we get up at 6. We leave. We stop at Dave's Variety, grab more worms. I'm glad Dave is keeping Delhi stocked and he's having a hard time keeping worms in stocks. That tells you how much fishing's going on. So that's awesome. We went down to Long Point. We hooked up with a friend, Brad Adams, who saw us fishing on the road at a culvert. And Brad has an Instagram page called Hunt and Fish Outdoors. He's located in Port Rowan. And he texted me and he goes, dude, I'm fishing with my kids down at my dad's in one of the marinas. He's like, come on down and fish with us. I'm like, all right. So we went down there, and there's a kid. Arlo is 2. He's in his diaper fishing with just a piece of dowel because he can't use a fishing rod because he keeps throwing the dowel in the channel. Okay. So I'm sitting on the picnic table. Me and Brad are having a coffee. I got my measuring board. I got my Mike Parker on the picnic table, and kids are bringing me bluegill after bluegill. They want to measure every fish they catch. Well, I'm going to tell you, dude, Stephanie wanted to go fishing with her rod. I sent you a picture, and she crushed the field, man. My daughter caught so many bluegill, and she got an 8-incher, but I told her it's not going to help. We already had an 8-inch bluegill, so she was a little bummed out. She is so determined to catch. So she did. One of our fish was the white sucker that she caught on her rod. but she wants to help the team so bad. So she can't wait for me to come home because I'm off Canada today. I'm off on Friday. She can't wait to go fishing with Dad to try and upgrade a point. She wants to help out so bad. And she was so happy to catch the fish with her Toothy Critters rod. And then she caught the little boy Arlo running around with his diaper, just a diaper on. He caught a bluegill. So I got a picture of her and Arlo. I put it on my story because she's like, Dad, I want to get a picture with Arlo and this nice bluegill. I'm like, I'll get your picture. So what's better than a little girl, 11-year-old girl, holding up a bluegill that a 2-year-old caught, and he's standing there in his diaper? Like, that's just, isn't that what fishing's all about, man?
Buddy, absolutely. What a great story that is. Holy smokes.
And that brown bullet we caught on that trip, we didn't catch it. Brad's son, Leo, caught it. I think Leo's 7. He caught that brown bullhead, and I'm like, yeah, we're all fishing together. It's all legal, man. I'll measure it. It was 9 inches. Trevor did the video. Their dog was sniffing my camera. Like, we just had a blast, man. Just an absolute blast. So I was really happy to get a point with the brown bullhead, but it was just great fishing with, dude, there was kids everywhere running around. There was, I think the Adams have 5 kids plus their nephew. So 6 kids under the age of 10, plus my 2 kids. It was chaos. I just sat there re-rigging worms and untangling people's lines. That's what I did, man. I didn't even fish.
And that's the best advice I could ever give a parent is if you're taking young kids fishing, put your rod down.
Yeah.
Because it ain't about you at that point. It's about them.
No, it was good to put the rod down and just let them fish. And then we worked our way home around noon and God, the kids wanted to go fishing some more. And I'm like, okay, listen, I got a lot of work to get ready before I leave on the road. So I said, I can't go fishing anymore today, guys. Dad needs a nap. I put the Jays game on. I fell asleep in the 8th inning. You know how it goes, buddy. I was just out of it. But it was great 2 days of fishing with the kids. And I'm just looking forward to getting home Wednesday. Stephanie's already texted me. She wants to go this week again. Now, what's happened now is all the rain we got.
Yes.
Like that's for a lot of us in zone 16 and 19, if you're trying to fish any rivers for any upgrades, the rivers are all blown out right now. Even the creeks down here are high and muddy. The fish aren't biting well. I'm hoping the levels drop enough by Thursday. I want to get a smallmouth. I may not be able to get out to the lake, so I'm going to go try either the Nith or the Grand for a smallmouth. I know I can get an 8-incher there easily. Can I get a 19? They're there. We're going to try it. I'd like to get a couple red horse upgrades because I know they're there. So we're going to do a day of river fishing and then a day, probably a day of perch fishing and then mix in some smallie fishing on the bay with another family. So, yeah, I got fishing planned, man. I haven't not fished I think I've only not fished one day in 3 weeks, one evening. And that night I got ready to go fishing.
Listen, dude, I would love for nothing, and I think wink, wink, nudge, nudge. There's a captain on here listening to us right now, but you would be a hard choice to turn down. You and Trevor, and Stephanie, and the whole family, including the young lad in the diapers. That's awesome, man.
Well, I'll be honest. Like I was looking through the list of fish that we have our points for. I'm going to bet Trevor's caught half those fish. Like, I'm not joking. He has caught half those fish himself. Wow. I'm going to go through and add it up. I'm going to bet we're 50-50 on it. That kid can catch him, man. It's been, Scotty, I've just been sitting back and watching him fish, and he's impressed the hell out of me in this competition. And we've been out. We spent a day with the Raytrowskis and a couple other friends, which has been great. And just to watch him fish, that kid can catch him at 13 years old. So, and I have some good news for him too. This September, the Ontario Bass Nation High School Championship is going to happen. We moved it to September to allow people, to hopefully things open up in that. We didn't have one last year. So another angler that I know through a mutual friend, long story, Trevor's on a team. He's going to fish the Ontario High School Championship in September. So
awesome.
The young boy he's fishing with is a lot older than Trevor. He's about 17 or 18. Trevor feels a little, he's like, Dad, I'm like the youngest guy in the field. I go, dude, don't worry about it, dude. You were asked to fish by this angler because of your ability. So just go and have fun. So I'll be there. I always go volunteer with these events. I help weigh the fish. So Trevor's going to be in a boat with another angler, and what they do is they take a coach. So a dad or an uncle goes with them and coaches. That adult doesn't fish, but is there to help and advise. And so I said to him, don't worry about winning, or just go and do your best. So he's doing that in September. So that's exciting. So
incredible. That's awesome.
Yeah. It's been a real cool, honestly, dude, it's been a real cool month. And bass season is open, and we're not slowing down because now bass season's here. And I'm not sure how many points we're going to get. Like, I think a lot of teams have kind of plateaued a little bit. Like, that's what I've seen.
Yeah.
And so I'm not sure how much more we're going to go up in the standings. I'm not copping out. I'm just like, whoo, I'm not sure what else I can do here. But we're gonna keep trying right to the end and see how it goes. But it's been a lot of fun, and we've really enjoyed it.
Well, and Jay, we've enjoyed every minute of watching you and all the young people that you bring along with you. And as I said, if there's anything that personifies what it is that we're trying to do here with the FishOFF and CFN, it's exactly that. And to Trevor and Stephanie, it I don't know, it gives you a warm feeling inside when you see the level of enthusiasm that they present to us in their videos and pictures. It's awesome.
Well, and it's really what's rewarding too, Scotty, is with Trevor, like the one video we did, Dallas messaged me and he's like, I just want to remind you that the partner has to do the video. And I go, you mean both of us? I go, Trevor's my partner. And I guess he checked the list and he's like, oh, you're right. I'm like, dude, the kid's my partner. Like I said, if I would have, honestly, Scotty, if I wanted to be more competitive, I would have made Heather my partner, but that's not realistic. Heather's not going to drive all over all night long to go fishing. My wife, Heather, loves fishing, but not as much as Trevor and Jason. Like it just ain't going to happen. Like the realistic partner is my son. And what's been great too, and what's been great with Owen, his buddy, is Scotty, like some kids aren't good on camera, like talking and stuff. And so it's been great fishing with Owen because his mom wants him to be more outgoing and more talkative. And she's like, there's no one better to hang out with than you and Trevor because you guys talk fishing so much. And I got such a great message from his mom on Saturday night. She sent me a message. She goes, I want you to know that Owen doesn't talk much. When he came home, all he talked about was how much he learned from you talking and coaching him all day. And we want you to know how much it means to us for you to take him fishing. And I'm like, I said, you don't have to say it, but he's a pleasure to fish with because it's great to fish with two young anglers who have the skills. Like Scotty, I'm not tying knots. I'm not untangling lines. Those two boys can fish. I just have to say, try this, try that, and they do it. And it's just great to sit back and let it happen. Awesome.
That's a wrap, man. I tell you, it doesn't get any better than that. Absolute music to the ears. Jay, Mark, dude, that's just, oh my God. If there's anything that we try to achieve, it's that. And you've just set the bar there. And my word, couldn't have said it any better myself.
The next step for these two is they want to enter the Ontario Kayak Bass Trail. And they're like, Jay, you got to buy a kayak so you can take us on the kayak bass circuit. So those two kids have plans for me. They're already scheming. So we'll see what happens in a year or two. Maybe I'll be fishing the kayak bass trail and I'll have to take the trailer I have for one kayak and rig it up for three. We'll see how that all works out.
Holy crap.
I know.
Wow. There's no end to it. And I wish I had a 6-pack of the energy drink that they're on. I'll tell you that.
Whew, dude. 46. I haven't fished this much officially. I haven't fished this much since I was in my teens, like officially. And I'm 46 years old. It's crazy, man. But it's so much fun. Like, and I think that's why I didn't feel down this weekend from the second shot because I just went fishing. I took a couple Advils Saturday morning and my arm was still hurting a bit, but I'm like, I think I was so tired from fishing that I wasn't tired from the shot. So it's all good. And just so everyone knows out there, I got to say it, July 3rd starts National Fishing Week in Canada. So July 3rd to 11th is National Fishing Week. Go to Keep Canada Fishing website, and they're going to have some contests. There's going to be, like, you could submit photos. So, I know you're listening, Steve, but let's do some sharing this week. to the CFN sites out there. Let's kind of, it'll be such a great way to end the fish off with National Fishing Week. I think it's fantastic. It just works out so well.
Absolutely. And you and I will be discussing an upcoming TNT Thursday with that link that you sent me. And so Brent Boychuk, keep an eye out for that. We're going to feature it on Friday, and we'll hopefully be talking about it next Thursday.
Nice.
I'll get in touch with Brent. So again, Jay, what you're doing, dude, bringing us folks to talk to, getting your kids involved, pumping our tires, waving the flag. All I'm going to say is take the rest of the night off if you so choose, because I'm sure you need a little bit of rest.
I can't. Look, the sky's cleared. I got the headlamp in the bag right there. I'm gonna go out here until I don't want to fish anymore. I gotta catch a white perch or something. I gotta get a point before I go to bed. So the hotel will be there when I'm done.
Right on, buddy. Well, listen, we'll let you go. Good luck. Keep up the great work, my friend, and thanks so much for doing this tonight, even though it was a difficulty trying to find Wi-Fi.
It's all good. I think the thunderstorm, dude, I was going to joke. Did you actually make a request upstairs that there would be a shelf cloud at the time that I had to do the call? So I've watched all the anglers leave the spot I wanted to go. They've all went home. So now I have the spot to myself, and I have a sunset too. So we're all good, man.
That's the magic of CFN right there.
Magic of CFN. Thanks everybody for rooting for me.
Take care, buddy.
See you,
all
man.
the best. Oh man. Dude, nothing says it better than Jay just said it. And that is why we do what we do here at CFN, and everything that is affiliated with us, whether it be our incredible sponsors, all of our great initiatives, some of our charity events, and of course our FishOFF events. But to our sponsors, to our supporters, to our community, you guys rock because of stuff just like that. Anyway, hope everybody enjoyed the show. As I said, tomorrow Mike and I will be on for Tourney Tuesday, which will give a CFN FishOFF update. It is our last week. Gotta love that Shimano. That is the catchphrase for this week. And tomorrow we'll be handing out 2 more incredible Shimano Symmetry combos to 2 lucky winners. And of course, there's TNT Thursday. Can't wait to make that announcement with Matt Bomeister, Michelle, and Adam Avery. Gonna be cool. Stay tuned. Lots of great things happening. Until then, everybody enjoy your evening. Take care and all the best.